Esto es el más atrás, donde las almas nuevas reciben sus personalidades únicas antes de ir a la Tierra. Los mentores como yo las ayudamos a encontrar sus pasiones, pero hay un problema. Yo no debería estar aquí.
Well, I thought the counselor's animation, it just blew my mind. I think it's absolutely incredible. So I wanted to ask you, besides that, can you give me another example of another thing in Soul that is related to that mantra that art challenges technology and technology inspires art?
Well, the souls themselves were another example of that. We didn't know, and we don't know what a soul really looks like. So after a lot of research and art and drawings and scribbles and ideas, coming up with the final design, it was a case of how do we have that appear on the screen and kind of look and feel how we think a soul might be represented. And that did involve, again, this case of art challenging the technology and technology challenging the art inspiring the technology. So I think the main one for the souls was actually the edges of the hands and the lines on the face. We knew we kind of wanted to pick out some of the details on the hands and create lines on the face that could help anchor the features of the face. And so we had to have a bit of back and forth collaboration with other departments, the characters, shading, lighting teams, to figure out how to do that. So that was another example. And you'll see when you look at the hands of the characters and the souls, they do have this kind of like a pen stroke edge to them, which really helps you to pick out those hand gestures.
One of the main locations of the movie is New York. We've seen New York a lot of times in a lot of movies and TV shows. So I'd like to know what makes Souls New York different, or what are the differences of your iteration of New York?
I think one thing is we're not trying to replicate New York and say this is like a photoreal New York. We're trying to capture it. We're trying to stylize New York and what it feels like to be in New York, with the sound and with the density of the people and with all the types of people. And in that design process, the stylization process, we looked at a lot of influences. We looked at Pete Docter was really influenced by the art of Ronald Searle, by the design that happened in the movie 101 Dalmatians in the 60s, where things were pushed, where things were really stylized consistently, from the character designs through the buildings, through the props, to the color palette. And I think all of that all together creates something that's really consistent and not necessarily photorealistic, but very, very believable. So anyone from New York, and we had a lot of New Yorkers work on this film, and they were constantly chiming in with, oh, this is what this subway would feel like. Oh, this is what this club would feel like. And then there's the research that people did. And New York, and Montague, you went to school, right? Back there, didn't you? So you can speak to what it felt like.
Back to what Bobby was saying, we're not trying to replicate, but more so create something that's believable. And one of those things is that, we pull from our life experiences. So I went to the School of Visual Arts in New York City. So whenever we would have reviews of, environments, or even if I'm animating in a shot and I had an idea that could how can we make this more believable? We were it's all part of the, collective collaboration process. And additional to that, I was part of an internal culture trust. So this may drift off to a specific part, the African-American community. We had an internal culture trust that consists of myself and several other African-American employees. And Joe Gartner being the first African-American lead, it was really important that we, represented him and the Black community in a respectable way, in an honest way. So being part of that trust, we would get together, we would share collective stories or collective experiences in our walks of life, and we would have a dialogue with Pete, Kim, and just kind of, have a dialogue and making sure that things would fold into the sequences or some of the scenes that you will see in Soul. So that way we're not just, we're being respectable about it. And, again, getting back to what Bobby said, creating something that feels believable and not just trying to copy per se.
Soul, de Disney y Pixar.
¿Pero qué?
Tranqui, están bien. Aquí las almas no se destrozan. Para eso está la vida en la Tierra.
Disponible en exclusiva el 25 de diciembre.